desperately need. But going into this game too, the Azir has been taken away. So IG, their first pick is going to be the Kai'Sa.
To be honest, I like Beichuan Kai'Sa. I feel like Kai'Sa's just so strong right now that IG still going to prioritize that for Arn. Let's see if it works out for them across the game. Whether or not this Varus goes through, though, we'll have to wait and see. As Tristana going to be that first pick again. And I feel like TT, even though they're on the other side of the map this time around, can somewhat rinse and repeat. As Beichuan this time is going to take the Sejuani away from Tianzhen.
That's really interesting because they went with Sejuani, so that opens a lot of angles for Hoya to synergize up with this Tristana, where they can look for a hard winning 2v2 towards, or at least 3v3 towards that top side, and shutting down YSK, where they are forced to deny this Jax away. Something else that Hoya has been finding a lot of time on as well into the summer, so I wouldn't be surprised if they blind this here. But we also have to consider the fact that we've seen a couple of blind Jaxes in the LPL. Champions like Kennen absolutely destroy you in that early game, so YSKM definitely needs a bit of help when it comes to the laning phase, and Tianzhen really needs to make up for his performance from that game 1.
Cryin gonna lock in that signature Annie. Cryin was playing Annie before it was cool. You know, back on RNG, he was playing Annie in the big run where Xiaohu was in the top lane as well. Not many teams were playing it back then, I can assure you. But Cryin, now it's a meta pick. Still looks good on the pick as Varus locked in for 1xN as well. So not far off, rinse and repeating the composition. Obviously a slightly different jungler, but still same MO, same win conditions so far.
Still have champions like Cassante up and available, so IG either they have to take that away or Hoya will most likely pick that as the response into the Jax. But once again, champions like the Kennen and the Gwen still relatively decent into this guy, as Hoya has shown a lot of that into the summer so far. But my biggest question is, what is Yaya going to save as that counter pick for support? Because we know that Wink, I mean, he has a huge champion pool coming into summer, but something like the Rakans could still be considered that pairs excellent alongside the Kai. So even Nautilus just locking down the double AD carry of TT, where they are able to close out the space and allow Arn to use that killer instinct and jump onto 1xN and Ucal.
Nocturne taken off the board, and like you're saying, being able to jump onto 1xN, being able to jump onto Ucal, Nocturne can definitely do that alongside Kai'Sa. So trying to make sure that 1xN will be safe in this one. What kind of protection can be locked in? I mean, Hoya could just go for the Cassante. It's made it very far through the draft. I mean, is there an angle for something like a Tahm Kench maybe for Yao Yao? Or is that just too far out of the meta?
I feel like Tahm Kench is quite the goofy champion nowadays because you're so immobile considering what the meta champions are. It's Ahri, it's Vi, it's Rakan, where they have a lot of room to create these plays. But Tahm Kench, he's kind of just waddling around, and often when there's so much CC provided from the junglers, I mean, it's just easy to be caught out of position. But that is going to be the Rakan locked in for the side of IG, a champion that I have been highlighting coming into tonight's series, where they have found the most success when Wink is on this champion. So that is going to be the final pick locked in for Tianzhen, the Kindred coming in. So a lot of AD carries and a lot of damage, but Cryin, he's playing for setup.
Yeah. Look, I'm just going to say quickly, Yao Yao has played Galio in this split. He's played Leona in this split. These are the kind of champions that can just kind of sit on your AD carry and protect them. The Blitzcrank could be an option as well. You can certainly pull the Kindred out of her ultimate. Yao Yao is happy to go for that one again, trying to find the early setup. Do we get another level 3 gank from Beichuan? Do we get more creative pathing to try and find a play early on in that bottom side? We'll have to find out. It's pretty much the same composition, just swapping out the Maokai for a Sejuani this time.
You know, maybe I'm cooking a little bit too hard, but I feel like the trump card to counter IG's composition, the absolute counter into this, would have been a Gragas. Considering the fact that you can cancel out the Rakan dash, you can explode Kindred out of her own ultimate and also deny engage angles away from this Jax, I feel like that would have been a pretty interesting matchup to say the least. But once again, it is going to be the Blitzcrank, however, coming into this game too. But considering the fact that you have a lot of engage options for IG locked in this time around, I don't know who you want to be hooking.
No, I'm not so sure either. We'll have to find out as we get into game number 2 here. TT, rinse and repeat. They like what they had in game number 1, and they've pretty much, I mean, not quite the same with the way that Sejuani and Maokai start fights, but it's not too dissimilar if you can land that Sejuani ultimate. We'll see what IG can bring, though, with very different composition. The Rakan going to be a huge tool, and the Kindred coming out. In the jungle, Tianzhen has the tools to carry here as a Kindred. Let's see if he can find his early game lead.
And the magical number for any Kindred player in the LPL is those 4 stacks in the early game. So it is going to be about how we have Beichuan locking down this Kindred as fast as possible. We've seen an amazing Sejuani kind of early game from the previous series where Lilian wasn't able to kind of play this early game out. So maybe that could be a repeat into this game too.
And we'll see. Hoya and YSKM. It's a bit of a copter off. I mean, honestly, Poppy versus Jax, those are the two. That is, come on, Hoya. Like,
come on,
you
Ucal.
can't be spamming with your teammate and then pretend to go into the brush like, oh yeah, let's come and dance in the brush, and then your teammates are there. Come on, dude. I know it is a professional game, but like, yeah, there's an amnesty between top laners when it comes to early emote spam.
Hey, look, at least in the very end, no one really traded any health, although we do have the mid lane kind of going in for some autos, as YSKM does get away scratch-free. He is camping the tri-bush, though, so that is going to kind of affect how Hoya is going to enter into his lane, potentially getting chunked out, and then YSKM kind of worked off this early game priority. We'll have to wait and see.
All in the bottom side,
That's Ignite.
He's in trouble here, but I can't quite find the autos. Flash available for On, so Yao does have to be really careful not to step too far forward. If Wink can find another grand entrance, could be a kill, or at minimum could be a flash here, and jumping forwards this time on 1xN, but a couple more autos out from On, and so far so good for IG in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and because the initial W does hit...
Ooh.
Oh, Ucal going in for the tree. Cryin is so incredibly low now, and he does have a single cookie left, so it could potentially help him out just a little bit. But talking about the bottom lane 2v2, Yaya no longer having any pods, so that is going to kind of deny a lot of opportunities away from Beichuan, unless he kind of goes in for the flash hook, which is going to be execution dependent. We'll have to wait and see, though, because Wink on this Rakan, he's more than happy to be playing this matchup. I already see him kind of bullying out Yaya in this game, too.
You certainly do. Yao had a bit of a hard time of it after that level 1 trade, but CS should be just about even, so not going to be the end of the world for them. Now priority on that bottom side, an early ward from IG. Not again, they say. They don't want to be spotted. However, that ward won't actually spot Beichuan if he just walks out through the normal jungle exit. Like, it doesn't actually cover that whole entrance.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what that ward is. Usually you would place it in the river, just outside the bush, in between the tri and the river bush. But if Beichuan notices that, he can honestly just walk over it.
I guess it spots out the first blast cone, but the blast cone is not actually there yet. Tianzhen will know that the players are here. He's sticking around for this one. We'll get tapped up a little bit. Yao in the area too, as the ward gets cleared now. Tianzhen will get this first scuttle crab, but it's the bottom crab. So that's not going to be a stack for Tianzhen. And in the meantime, you see Beichuan pushing out mid lane alongside Ucal to move up and take the top crab.
And that's why Kindred isn't a very popular champion in the competitive scene, because sometimes you flip the scuttle crab and it's not the one you need.
Oh, hook from Yao, but Wink dives in alongside On to make sure his AD carry's okay. Continuously sparring in the bottom lane. But like you say, I mean, the first crab not going the way of Tianzhen in terms of those marks. And that is, you know, it's bad news. Kindred's one of those champions, I think a lot of people think, because it's an AD carry, that it's like a late game jungler, but actually the early game, you do want to be being aggressive. You do want to be finding early scraps as a Kindred. So far,
Cryin
kind of
has
avoided.
his son.
Ucal is leaning towards them right now as Han still looking at his
Ucal
screen.
jumped in.
Not going to be caught out.
Ucal jumped in, but I believe Tianzhen did have to look for the reset. I believe Cryin also had the stun set up, so if the jungle and support were kind of hovering a little bit more towards that mid lane, Ucal most likely would have had to burn the flash, but he will get away this time as An is left alone towards his bottom side. I'm honestly surprised that Yael didn't just commit a flash auto onto An, because Wink was on a vision ward in that mid lane, and that denies An's ability to ever walk up in the 2v2 trade. We'll have to wait and see, because Tianzhen once again is going to be the highlight point of IG, as he is still looking for his first mark.
Certainly is. We'll see where it's going to spawn as Beichuan will get an opportunity to just start this Drake off, which is bold, I will say, because his bot lane had just reset here. Ucal only just getting back to lane with the TP as well, but doesn't look like there'll be any contest whatsoever. Tianzhen was up in that top side, and it will just be this first Drake take and an attempt towards the mid lane from Tianzhen, but it's not going to find it. Ucal hovering towards the rest of his team who are on that Drake.
A great discipline coming out of the Tristana, not spotting out this Kindred anywhere near the dragon, so that of course naturally suggests that this Kindred is trying to look for something towards this top side, but unless Cryin goes in with the unexpected stun where Ucal isn't going to be able to buffer it, I don't know how they're going to be pulling off this mid lane skirmish.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Tianzhen moves into that bottom side, but Beichuan farming upwards, so again, Tianzhen not really able to get any stacks just yet. Maybe this Scuttle Crab, though, will give him a mark. And potentially could look towards a dive in the bottom side. Wink clearing away the vision. I mean, the wave is stacking against them, so I don't see that happening. There we go. That will be a mark here. You saw the little animation above its head. The Scuttle goes down, and there we go. Mark number 1 for Tianzhen.
Like you said, Tianzhen securing the first Scuttle, but Beichuan, he is just aiming to get that level 6 spike and potentially look for a dive towards his bottom side. He hasn't been spotted out just quite yet. We need to take a look at his XP bar and see how far off he is from that level 6, as they can look for a kill onto Wink.
He's there. He's so close to level 6. These minions might just do it. He's in XP range, but no.
He's not 6.
Perhaps could get it on the next wave, but does just have to reset. Doesn't want to starve his bottom lane off farm. And also, you're against a Kindred, so you can't really afford to just sit in a bush for too long, because Kindred, one of those champions that the second you give her the opportunity, she will get in your jungle and she will just start farming up a storm. Wink takes a hefty chunk there just for face checking.
You know what pisses me off, Munch? I don't know why this is in the game, but have you ever had those instances where you're 100% XP towards a level? How are you 100% towards an XP level and not, you know, upgrade towards that XP? Yeah, how do you not level up? I don't know why that's a thing, but I'm sure that Beichuan was also sitting on 100% towards level 6, but finally he has hit that Glacial Prism, and with the Rift Herald up and available, we do need to look at the priority in the solo lanes, where I feel like it is a lot harder to walk into here as a side of IG.
Yeah, Beichuan able to go for those chickens and potentially deny another stack. I mean, stack watch so far hasn't been great for Tianzhen, but Herald is on the map, and priority in that mid lane leads to him starting this one off. Looks like Beichuan not interested in contesting as he moves towards the bottom side. But look at this, pings towards the red buff. They want to protect this from the enemy jungler. An and Wink are here. They've got to be a little cautious themselves, because Beichuan would have reinforcements. He spots Wink here, looking for An, looking to deny entry to the bottom lane. Beichuan and Yao grouping up to make sure 1xN gets some solo time on the tower. Now contesting the wave as the resets have come through from Tianzhen. He's moving towards this bottom side of the map, but the wave cleared, and look at all this CS being denied from An.
Not just the CS denied, but it's also one plate going into the pocket of 1xN. However, Tianzhen successfully getting the Rift Herald into his pockets. He can just make up for that lack of wave in the upcoming few minutes, placing this towards the bottom side. But a very slow start for both of these teams, as we need to emphasize how TT, they were able to find a lot of success because Beichuan was able to secure that first Rift Herald and then plop it in the mid lane to allow Ucal to get those tower platings into them as fast as possible. However, this game, it doesn't really seem like this Tristana has that loud of a voice.
Ucal trading with Cryin here. And as you say, not really having the influence that he would want as Tianzhen gonna try and find Ucal. Flash is available for Ucal, so is Buster Shot. As Tianzhen will just be altered away here, spotted with the Scry's Bloom as well. As the rest of TT moving on over, looking towards Yao here. A hook could be huge as Beichuan sneaks into the brush. Cryin's the target, and there we go. The CC chain is in. You wanted a louder voice for Ucal. Well, he's yelling for support.
Ucal, carry of game 1, and I'm not surprised at the jungle and support of TT once again setting this Tristana up for success. A plate and a kill into Ucal's pockets with the dragon spawning in 30 seconds as well. But this time around, Yaya having some vision set up towards that bottom side. It's going to still be a little bit rough for IG to kind of face check this because you have to consider the fact that Kindred and Annie, they are still relatively squishy, so the only person that can be taking the hook has to be Wink because he has that escape ability on the W.
Yeah, it's not great though, is it? Because you get pulled in, you get silenced, you get knocked up. Like, Rakan is good because you can escape again, but if you can't escape again, Rakan is no longer good. That's 2 stacks though for Tianzhen as he gets the invade onto chickens. In the meantime, TT will start this Drake off. They know that the enemy jungler is probably up on the top side. However, Herald's still in pocket for Tianzhen. He's going to drop that in the mid lane to try and force TT away from this objective. He's moving down to contest right here. Hex flash from Yao. Nearly finds Tianzhen. Won't get it though. Drake will go down.
No ultimates available for Beichuan just quite yet, so that is going to be second dragon. Dragon stacking is going to be a slight problem for the side of IG as they do get some plates into. I believe Tianzhen did Cryin pick up the goal in the mid lane. I'm not too sure as the camera wasn't really panned towards there.
I hope so, because there was nothing else for him to do on the map, so I really hope he got the goal for that play.
We do have the Kraken getting picked up by Tianzhen on this Kindred though, as we don't look topside. This puppy may or may have not just picked up 2 tower plates for themselves. And considering the fact that Poppy is a relatively annoying champion that does a lot of damage once you do hit the Iceborne Gauntlet, Tianzhen might have a bit of a struggle when it comes to these team fights.
Can we just take a second to look at these plates as well? Because like 2 plates bot, 2 plates mid, 3 plates top. I feel like even though it's not been the most action-packed early game, this is actually a pretty sizable lead for TT. Almost 2,000 gold up, and so much of that is down to the plates. Obviously, the kill for Ucal as well. And they got the 2 Drakes. So, all things considered, TT, they're very happy with how this early game has gone.
Yeah, especially when IG, they're the ones kind of depending on how Cryin is able to find angles onto the opposing team. And with the flash available, that is going to be relatively easy to execute, which will allow Wink to follow up with his grand entrance as well. But TT not giving any options over just quite yet. I think Ucal has honestly been playing this game too relatively well as well, where you see Tianzhen desperately looking for angles onto this Tristana, but he is always very disciplined and leaning towards the side where Tianzhen isn't going to be able to get his hands onto this Tristana.
Yeah, I mean, Tristana already difficult to gank, and then when Ucal is like hovering towards his jungler, playing very respectfully, not just trying to find 1v1 all-ins onto Cryin, like, it just becomes basically impossible as Hoya continues to just slam waves into this tower. The reset came out from YSKM, and Hoya knows it. He wants to punish that fact as he crashes yet another wave, and might even be able to get another play because he's got Demolish available. And, I mean, yeah, he's going to get 4 plates in a 1v1. He's had no presence from the jungler. And look at that. I mean, he's almost 1,000 gold up over YSKM.
Yeah, and you have to also be in Tianzhen's shoes where even if you do want to look for any angle onto this Poppy, how on earth are you going to be able to 100-0 someone with the Ninja Tabbies and the Sunfire? I know it's not Ninja Tabbies, it's steel plates. But just too much armor
plated
for
steel caps. Plated steel
caps.
Yeah.
Plated steel caps for the top
I still
side of
call
IG
them
to deal
tabbies
with.
as well. I feel like that's one of the hardest ones to change, yeah. But it does make sense that, you know, armored boots, probably not ninja related. Combo onto Wink, but he manages to dodge away from the Chain of Corruption. That will lead to not a whole lot happening.
Yep, as the shift has been picked up by both AD carries, a rinse and repeat of the game 1, but I feel like this Poppy is going to become quite the problem for IG to deal with, because although you do have the Kraken Slayer picked up by Tianzhen, he desperately needs that Lord Dominic's as that third item to truly deal with the front line of TT. Force flash out of Sejuani.
Yeah, Beichuan kind of over-committing there, but it does mean Ucal can finish off the tower. So all things considered, I think he'll be okay with that one. Tianzhen does get the Herald. Wave crashed in the mid lane as well, but 1xN not feeling comfortable to try and commit for any pressure there. There's still 2 stacks on the Kindred at the 15-minute mark. And I feel like how quiet this game has been, honestly, Tianzhen not enjoying that. I feel like this might be by design from TT, like just avoid Tianzhen. Like, deny him the camps, but never fight him. Don't give him any opportunities to get stacks.
Yeah, and this Kindred, I mean, he has been full clearing this entire game, but the scary thing is Beichuan is ahead in CS by around 20. So you really kind of wonder what the effect of this Kindred really will be. Of course, we still have yet to see a straight up 5v5 out of the IG roster. But with Beichuan and Yaya looking for these T-Vision, I'm pretty sure they're going to force something in the mid lane soon.
Drake coming up in 20 seconds. It would be the third for TT, and I mean, complete control of the river for the time being. This feels very difficult for the side of IG to contest, but contest they might. Yao Yao only level 6 as people are level 11 in the game. Hoya is literally double his support's level. As Herald comes down in the mid lane, it'll get the charge, but cleared immediately, and now TT can fight for priority once again. I feel like that Herald was a little bit early. Drake not actually on the map just yet, and it means that priority still in favor of TT. Trying to clear some vision, but Yao Yao will just back away.
Yscan did get spotted out by the ward placed towards the back, so they do know that the Jax is on this flanking angle. Great poke coming out of 1xN.
2 big ults used, and that's a 4-man counter-strike from YSKM. The follow-up is perfect. Azan jumps into the backside and just goes down. 2 carries are better than 1. YSKM should be finished by Ucal here. The buster shot to finish the job. Hoya still alive as Beichuan's over the wall. Hoya with a 3-man knock-up to match the enemy top laner. Gets into the brush, keeps himself alive. Tianzhen forced to use his own ultimate, and Hoya gets the stun and survives. The heal comes in, and somehow it's 3 for 0 on the backside of the fight. Beichuan alive with the smite. Wink. Wait, maybe he knows that the smite isn't actually there for Beichuan.
He has no
Wink
vision
is
of
over
it,
the
though.
wall. He wants to try. Oh, no.
Wait.
Okay, well, never mind. TT soul point.
Soul point indeed for the side of TT, but Hoya living that skirmish it just felt illegal to watch this Poppy play out this fight, man, because first of all, the Keeper's Verdict to knock out this, he didn't even get to execute it, but YSKM getting that 4-man counter-strike into this choke was just absolutely insane. Allows for follow-up from Wink as well, and then we have the Jax just bonking the 80 carries of TT to kind of finish off the deal, but Ucal having the ultimate in hand does finish off this Jax as it does go through right the counter-strike, but Hoya in the remainder of this team fight was just absolutely insane. No damage provided from the Kindred just quite yet without that armor pen, but flashes over by Cryin. Hoya eases him back into the wall and lives on 1 digit. That is insane to me to think that Ucal also working off the resets does allow for TT to come out on top.
What? Ucal with a 5th kill as Tianzhen has been found in the river. And we've had a very quiet start to this game, but it is speeding up fast here. Beichuan moves into the mid lane to tank up the tower so 1xN can finish the job. Now, tier 1 down in both mid and bot for TT with 3 Drakes and presence towards this top side. This becomes very difficult for IG to find any... Oh, look at this. Perfect pixel brush play.
Yep, and the Blitzcrank finally lands the Q onto Tianzhen, but now coming into this game at 20 minutes, you start considering the fact that remember, IG prioritizes Kai'Sa as that first pick on the blue side, going AP 2 games in a row, but we need to remind the audience that Kai'Sa, until she hits her 3rd item for that W evolve, she's not going to offer as much, especially when IG are allowing TT to get dragon stacking very early on in the game. I don't know if this is going to be the correct approach. I feel like an AD Kai'Sa perhaps could have been a lot better.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I guess maybe thinking the fact that you've got a Jax in the top side and a Kindred in the jungle, maybe wanting to split the damage. And maybe just like autopiloting the build, right? Like when you're playing a ton of AP Kai'Sa at the minute. Wouldn't surprise me if that's just his standard to go for at the moment. His waves cleared in the mid lane. Baron spawning onto the map. Yao, a single hook could change everything. As a deep TP from Hoya, but Cryin gets the stun. Keeps himself alive for now, but Hoya, he's not done just yet. Gets a knock up, and there's the ultimate coming through, and Ucal's TP'd in too. Cryin thought he got out, but he was unbelievably wrong. Wink found out as well. 1xN holds him in place with a chain and finishes off the kill with an arrow. 2 picks and a Baron for TT.
How do you play the game? IG is just getting slowly picked apart by the roster of TT as YSKM desperately looking for any response in the side lane, but I think TT more than happy to take the Baron at 20 minutes once again.
I mean, just brutal here for TT. They've been playing so well around the map. 6,000 gold lead now. And honestly, YSKM, it's tough. He's on the bottom side of the map. His team dies around Baron. At least he gets a tier 1. But what really can you do, TP from Cryin, just to stop the push, stop the wave crashing into the tower? But now, the side of TT, they could all go for the resets, move back onto the map, and start to pressure onto these towers. And this is where, like, double AD carry, you are going to Shrek those towers.
Yeah, and I feel like something else that we can highlight for the side of IG is we haven't seen any synergy coming out of Cryin and Tianzhen in the game 2 as well, and that is a very worrying trend because we see Cryin consistently getting picked up in the side lane from game 1 as well on that Jace, so you really start to wonder, like, what is the communication for the side of IG? But we'll have to wait and see because this Jax, if he gets a wonderful flank and they are able to play up picks, they can still come back into this game.
Yeah, the target started all off here, and here's the flank you were asking for. YSKM behind 4 players, but Ucal jumps out of the stun here, and suddenly YSKM is alone with no CC, knocked back and taken down. Wink 1 HP as Tianzhen uses his ultimate. 1xN goes down. Maybe this is it for IG, but Hoya behind the play, and the resets for Ucal. It's an ace in favor of TT, and they're just making it look easy.
I think it's safe to say that don't give Ucal this Tristana champion anymore, because once again, I mean, we see the Kindred all getting placed down, but Ucal using his ultimate just forces the enemy team out of the safety, and now they're looking to end. Well, not looking to end, but for the bottom inhibitor, but they are looking to seal the deal with this final Ocean Soul.
Okay. Not going for the inhibitor here, and I think the reason for that just being the respawns are coming on through. They don't want to get caught in a fight. They don't want to get like caught in that base because Dragon on the map, and as you say, this is Soul for them. So they need to burst this down before the team of IG can make it. They should be able to finish the job here. Smite available. No, Smite not available for Beichuan, but it won't matter. Drake taken, Soul taken by TT. That inhibit the bottom side open for Hoya to pressure while the rest of the team resets.
Yeah, it's rough because you look at YSKM, he had such a great angle, but he wasn't able to kind of get over the wall. He did have a ward. I feel like he could have ward jumped over and then closed a lot more distance faster onto the backline of TT, but with Ucal jumping out, the counter-strike misses, and they instantly focus down YSKM on this Jax. Just great front-to-back team fighting from the side of TT, and you see this final fight. 1xN may have flashed out of the Kindred ult, but the final ultimate coming out of Ucal to push Tianzhen out of his own Lamb's verdict that seals the deal. I mean, I don't know how IG come back into this game.
Oh, pull in comes out. Cryin is down before the fight even really kicks off. Hoya trying to chase for YSKM here. The slows are there. The stun comes through as the counter-strike buys a little bit of time, but slammed against the wall. And Ucal into double digits. 10-0-5. This has got to be one of the best scorelines Ucal's had in his career because this game is absolutely mental from him.
Yeah, 2 games in a row, this Tristana has been the standout. 8-1 from game 1, but this second one, absolutely insane scoreline. But on the receiving end, Cryin, super rough Annie game. 0-5-0, yet to find a single assist in a kill. But Ucal flashing in for the kills. I'm not too sure if it's gonna land.
He wants to end the game, and he had a stopwatch as well to deny the counter engage Tibbers will not be long for this world, as they'll be able to just auto it down. Inhib will fall in the top side. And in the meantime, Hoya setting up the wave in the mid lane too. Beichuan over the wall with an Ocean Soul and a red buff. That health will be back in seconds. And now the siege can continue. Double AD carry, but Baron has run out, so it's a bit more difficult to just force it in against a Shiv.
Especially considering the fact that Hoya wasn't even involved in that top lane inhibitor. He was pushing in the wave. I feel like TT, they could potentially 4-1 here and start pressuring both mid and bottom, but it does seem like they want to look grouped just in case IG force a fight in the mid lane. But so far, so good. No major objectives just quite yet. 1 minute away from Baron with that top lane inhibitor not available either. So we see that IG, they find the most success when Wisecam is able to find those insane flanks on the Jax. Tianzhen, you don't want to be there.
Oh, Wink dives in the way. The bodyguard jumps into the bullet to try and get Tianzhen out. Lamb's Respite still available. Tianzhen will walk away with his life just about. Keep his vid. Will be held by Hoya. Baron spawning in 45 seconds. I feel like TT would really like to not have to go for the Baron, and so they'll just walk into this mid lane. Hoya happy to tank, and there we go. Last inhib tower taken down. They can move down and get the bottom inhib as well, as no tower remaining in the bottom side of the map. TT with 3 inhibs should be able to finish the game out at this point, but they seem nervous to commit. They are over 10,000 gold up. TT, come on, you got this.
This is the second time now Hoya charging up the Radiant. I keep calling it the Radiant. The Keeper's
Virtue. Keeper's Verdict.
Why am I mixing up with Radiant Virtue? Just, I'm brainwashed by TFT, but for some reason, Hoya is scared to commit to the Poppy ultimate. The hook lands onto Tianzhen. Second time now.
Did land, but the bomb didn't time it quite right, and Wink saves the day, but Hoya's behind enemy lines, and Beichuan jumps in as well. Cryin trying to get redemption, but he just goes down as YSKM answers for the play from earlier, but the health bars are still surviving, and 1xN's 1v1ing the Jax! Oh, it's absolute disaster for IG. Ucal with another triple. 13-0-6 to finish the game out for Ucal. That is absurd to see. 21-3, and TT, they'll go 2-0 up against IG.
Like you said, TT bouncing off the momentum from their series win up against EDG. Ucal once again hugging his jungler Beichuan, as just the genuine reactions from this man after such a successful game too. As well, 13-0 on this Tristana. How can you not love this guy?
I mean, he's so happy to get this win, and off of an individual pop-off as well. Great game from Ucal. You can see the passion here for TT. The split is not over yet. They may be 3-9.